This recording is happening in my bathroom simply because I like the sound of it. But this conversation between us already happened on my balcony earlier today and yesterday. It was full of sounds, all possible city sounds you can imagine. But there was one sound that my microphone didn't like, and that was the wind. So thanks to the wind, we're here now. Every single creator you come across, no matter the media they use, they want a part of your mind, your attention, and your time, as if they're infinite. And if we just remove you from the equation, it might be, because you will cease to exist at some point, and there will be many other yous that will keep providing space for their existence. And when you don't have your time and your mind intertwined with theirs, and when you don't think their thoughts, where is your mind? Where is your mind when it's on its own? Or is it ever on its own? Or is it constantly rented to someone or something, to the point where you forget to even think that you are the owner? And how does your mind look like? I asked this question so many people, so many times throughout the life, and 99% of the people didn't know what I'm talking about. I'll tell you about mine. And it's just a fraction of what I can tell you right now. Yesterday I looked at a hotel building that I have a view on from my apartment. I stared at it for a few moments and I was observing the cranes moving around it. There's a construction site next to that hotel, but then I also thought that maybe these cranes have to do something with this ability to go on top of the building and jump off of it. It's a touristic thing. But this is not even about that. Well, as I was looking at it, as I was looking at this building, especially as the sky was yellow from the sun, I could feel myself at the same time being in Hamburg in Germany and observing a similar building, being surrounded by water and feeling the air, the fresh air that was present there. And then at the same time, I was able to feel myself being in Los Angeles, observing another similar building, while being on a high balcony with a glass fence. In my mind's eye, I turned my head around and I saw a reflection of the city and the reflection of the fence and the reflection of myself looking back in the window. And then I had a glimpse of myself in Hong Kong watching another similar building, but that feeling was there only for a second. And it wasn't just my imagination, although nothing wrong with it, even if it is. If imagination can be compared to writing a letter, then this was like receiving a letter. It was a received sense of being at multiple spaces at the same time. And this wasn't even the first time that this happened to me. I then looked at the sun, and from it, I felt so many humans looking at the sun at the very same moment. And I was able to feel as many as I could think of. I could feel myself being in Barcelona, walking on the beach and passing next to people who were taking photos of the sunset and the sea. And there was a sound of children running around and playing. I saw an Asian man taking photos of his wife and daughter with their backs turned to the sun in the park, well, not knowing that that's not the lightning to make the best shots in that space. I saw a farmer working in a field but briefly looking at the sun. I saw people who are right now at this moment having sex and acknowledging the presence of the sun in their experience. And I saw those that accidentally fell asleep under the sun and might wake up with sunburns. I didn't believe in sunburns in this part of the year, but I've seen a woman lying under the sun and sleeping. Then I felt myself standing on a cliff in Portugal and bearing with the wind while watching the ocean. And then I felt myself being in front of a Finnish cottage and checking the air quality. And it was very cold and crisp, but also at the same time a bit sticky. sweaty. It was spring. Then I focused on the air that was present with me, with my presence here in Berlin on my balcony, and thought how through the air we're all connected. And I know it sounds cheesy, but we all breathe air from the same planet. And sometimes I look in the sky, and especially towards the north, and I know that the same sky exists in Copenhagen. Do you ever look at things in the same way, acknowledging that you live on the same planet where Copenhagen exists? From where I'm standing, it's not even that far. But still, it's a completely different world. Here where I live, I have all types of noises. There are children screaming, dogs barking, church bells ringing, helicopters, airplanes, cars, trucks, motorcycles, police and fire trucks, sirens, and ambulance, and there's a construction site operating, and there are neighbors doing all possible things, and I hear everything. Silence is very rare. But what's also rare is to hear music. So when somebody tries to play music, and I know they do, there's somebody with drums that is playing in the morning hours, and then there's somebody having an electric guitar, and they play very rarely. But whenever they do, I cherish those sounds so fucking much. I hold on to them. I hold on to them like I would if I would, I don't know, find diamonds in a pile of dirt. I'm talking about visual landscape of the sounds that you can hear in your immediate surroundings, where the obscure music sounds would look like red flowers among all types of weeds. It gets me out of my head and makes me feel like I am that sound, no matter how imperfect they are. But sadly, music is one of the first reasons why people would turn against one another while living in a building. Do you ever just listen to the sounds and make the sounds themselves be enough? I have synesthesia, I know, it's easy for me. But even for me it's challenging to sometimes just make space for all the sounds, even the noise, and let it visualize itself in my mind. Each and every sound, including silence, have shape, colors, speed and trajectory of its movement from its beginning to the end, and from one point to another. And that's beautiful. And I honestly wish that to my neighbors, especially those that complain about music, not even noise. I understand complaints about noise. I myself sometimes get really frustrated about noise. But about music, I really wish that they see what I see. Thinking of relocating myself through senses, today I specifically remembered a house that was located somewhere in Rijeka, in Croatia, that I went into every single night before sleeping when I was about 7 years old. At that time I was living in a mountain region of Croatia. And there was a certain time when I needed to be in bed, and if I wasn't tired, which I mostly wasn't, I was hanging out in that house in my mind. It was a mid-upper class, 3-store white house with big black balconies at the front, surrounded by a flower garden. It was nothing special, actually. It was quite typical for Croatia. In my mind, I often fell asleep in that house, in a master bedroom on the 2nd floor. If somebody would grant me access to all the houses that looked like the way I described it, I'm certain I would find that one. I've never physically been in that house. I've also never been in US, not yet. But I often feel that I have good friends in Chicago, and that's just the feeling that I keep living with over the years. And when I thought about starting this YouTube channel and I looked into this corner of my apartment, I felt it to be in New York. And it's not just that corner, and it's not just at this particular moment, The feeling of being in New York follows me everywhere I go. I stood on my balcony today and I looked down on the children's playground and I saw parents waiting for their children, and for a second it felt like Bronx. Starting a YouTube channel from New York feels more doable than from East Berlin because the air in New York feels more active and more ambitious. In my synesthetic way of seeing things, the air in New York feels like it contains soap bubbles that make thin metallic sounds as they clash. The air from New York in my apartment also comes with people showing up in my energy field. I assume those would be my friends, as I see them happily greeting me and laughing and smiling at me. Last year I had a series of dreams in which I met people who were essentially me, but living other lives in other dimensions. And one of them lived in New York. She had a beautiful big apartment with glass wall she received somehow before she was able to afford it. And she fell in love with that apartment and she said, I'm gonna do whatever it takes just to keep living here. And then she had to figure out how to keep it going, so she got a job. She became a boss of some company. I visited her at work and her reception was blue with red details. She had people working for her and she had her own walk-in closet in the office full of high fashion clothes, always in high heels. From the linear perspective, it remained unclear to me whether this life already happened as a past life or if it's happening simultaneously as I'm speaking to you right now, or if it's yet to happen for me. So I was wondering, if I go to New York, am I going to bump into this person? And am I going to recognize that it's the same soul essence living in another body? Can we have a chat? Can we have a coffee together? Can we hang out? Can we have a friendship? Or is it my timeline that I can slip into? Can I go to New York and get an apartment that is so beautiful that it will make me want to stay there and find a way to be able to afford it? Was it looking at my future? Or is it something that has nothing to do with me because I'm here, talking to you right now? Whatever it was, or whatever it is, it justified the feeling of being in New York. But she was not the only person that I met. I met several others. And what I noticed from each and every single one of them was that all of them worked in areas of life that were very attractive to me, even from this standpoint where I am right now. It's just that up until now I didn't have chance and opportunity or time and space to actually explore life through these areas. When I moved into my apartment, I painted the walls in green. And when I stood on my balcony and watched the sky, it felt like I was in Norway. The clouds look very Norwegian to me. And then my whole apartment and the whole district felt like Norway. So one day I put my yoga mat on the floor, I put my laptop on the floor, and I started learning Norwegian. And what I found out was that I didn't vibe with it. It was too close to Danish and English and German and all those languages I learned before. So I was looking for a language that actually fits the atmosphere of my apartment. And I found Finnish. It was otherworldly. It was exotic. It was difficult. And it was quite challenging to memorize all the words because they had nothing to do with all the words that I ever learned before. So when I learned a little bit of Finnish, thinking in Finnish became like a mental vacation from all other languages that I know. It became like a mental escapism, and it was beautiful. And that was the atmosphere of my apartment. Green walls, Norwegian sky, and Finnish language. I've never been to Norway, and I've never been to Finland. Not yet. Several years ago on a New Year's Eve, I was pleasantly surprised when, out of nowhere, I felt myself being in Moscow. And for more than 2 hours, my heart was open and I was full of joy. Joy that didn't seem to make sense in Berlin at the time. Maybe you can imagine it as having a phone call with someone during a celebration time, and through that phone call, you feel fulfilled and connected to that person and place where they're calling you from. Except that nobody really called me from Moscow. It just happened through the air, or through the heart. And I haven't been to Moscow either. Not yet. I have entertained the idea or a theory that empathic and psychic people, or people who have ability to feel other people's emotions and see things they logically shouldn't be able to see, are just chronically not present in their own body. That they would rather feel other people's feelings than their own because they don't have developed capacity or maturity to be present with the fullness of their own experience. I've considered it. And it might be true. Sometimes it's more true than the other times, but does it even matter? Is ability to be elsewhere really a glitch? Something to be fixed? Or is it something that is naturally available to all of us when we remove ourselves from the normalized distractions? And it's not just in relation to places only. I have encountered so-called bad people in this life. Those that made me wonder in disbelief, how could they be this way? How can they think that way? How can they behave that way? How can they make decisions in that way? How could they say something like this? And sometimes just genuinely asking yourself, how could they be that way, is enough for you to receive the answer. Life can totally organize itself in a way that it puts you in their shoes and puts somebody else into your shoes, just so that you can get a glimpse and understanding of how it is to be them and how it is to see you from their perspective. How it is to experience their feelings and their emotions in a way that you normally don't. And how it is to be in their minds. Minds are like houses. There is a person that I look up to, and every time when I'm in some really difficult situation, I ask myself, what would she do in my space? And last time when I asked myself that question, I had a vision of her mind. Her mind was like a big, spacious, luxury house. Plenty of rooms, balconies, terraces, gardens, rooms with views and secluded ones. And she was able to walk from one room to another, from one corner of the house to another. She walked, and she walked gracefully. She didn't run. She didn't use vehicles to transport herself. She walked. And then I had a vision of other people's minds. They also have really big houses with a lot of space, but they had to use vehicles to move themselves from one room to another and from one corner to another. They had to do so because either they had pain that prevented them from walking, or they were simply untrained for walking, even lazy. And there was a great importance on the vehicles rather than the space that they were in. In other words, some people can walk themselves through changing their states of mind and their states of being, while some others, they need tools because they can't otherwise. And it's not even their fault. Some people just have unprocessed pain that would allow them to be the master of their own self. And some just simply don't know how because they were never trained. I've been also wondering, how are some people more likely to do porn than other people? And I know there are millions of different reasons in the background of what makes people the way they are, and very many of them, if not all of them, are really none of my business. But as I was wondering, how is this possible, I got a glimpse of one person needing to record their sexual interaction and stream it to other people, not because of the money and not because of the pleasure of being watched, but because of the need to exist in more than one body. There was a need to be in the mind of other people, take space there. It was a mean of self-actualization, to exist in another person's body, in another person's mind. It was as if being in one body and paying attention to another body became one-dimensional. What happened to living for your own senses? When I was a child, I thought that no matter what happens, no matter where I am, and no matter what I have to be doing, nobody could ever get access to the inner world of mine. Nobody, ever. But when I became a teenager and went to catch up with the world through social media and social circles, that changed. And it was ever more so replaced by what seemed important for each stage of life. New experiences, new people, academic and work successes, etc. It was only through solitude and, ironically, through saturation of internet content that this ability came back to me. I really needed to have too much of everything in order to reconnect with what was mine. It wasn't fully gone or absent. It was to some degree ever present, but it wasn't at all time nurtured by me. Especially when I was going through lifetimes with humans who didn't really understand what I was about, and when I didn't understand what I was about. But here it is, as I'm here in Berlin, talking to you, feeling like I'm in New York, where each black and white component of my apartment feels like New York to me. And the building feels like brick building, and my new ceramics on the wall feel like old ceramics. And our bathroom feels like multidimensional space full of tangible history and full of opportunities at the same time.